Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as we begin the National Book Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Larry Wilmore.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. Well, welcome. Man, what a nice night. Welcome to the 2016 National Book Awards. Yes, that's right. Or as it's going to be called next year, the Trump National Luxurious Evening for Books Big League. Yes. That's right. Get used to it, everybody. Man, what a week. How was your week? This was very bizarre for me, I have to. Wasn't Tuesday night the most surreal night ever? I've been watching elections since I was a kid. I have never experienced a night like, I don't even have a word for it. A friend of mine actually said, that was exciting, wasn't it? I'm like, exciting? I don't know if I'd use the word exciting. It's exciting in the same way that an asteroid hurtling towards Earth is exciting. Right? Yeah, it's spectacular, but I think we're gonna die soon. That's what it felt like, you know. It's hard to explain the feelings, you know. Like, I voted for Hillary. I'm a Democrat, I'll admit it. You know, Democrats, we were so happy at the beginning of the night, right? History was gonna be made, all those kind of things, you know. And by the end of the night, it was like everybody's dog had died. It felt horrible, right? The only analogy that makes sense to me, it felt as if like we were all opening a brand new like Samsung Galaxy Note 7, right? Right? I'm like, man, this is a nice phone, right? Woo, can't wait to get it open. Right, because when you plug in that new phone and you start charging it, the only thing on your mind is, yeah, I wonder what time this phone is gonna be ready for me to use, right? Not, I wonder if I'm even gonna have a phone and will my house be burned down to the ground? That's what it felt like at the end of that night. It was so bizarre, you know. I think it is kind of unfair, though, for people to say that Hillary lost. It's kind of, well, I think she's gonna win the popular vote, right? Or she's ahead, like 2 million? 1.5 million? Man. You know, it's also fair to say that Trump won. You know, I think Trump had more passionate people for him, especially in certain areas, than Hillary had for her. I mean, guys, come on. When you think about it, Trump had white people racing to those ballots like they were voting for the first white president. Let's be honest, right? Come on, Clem, let's go. My fair only chance. Oh my God. I'm a little worried, though, I have to admit. I'm a little concerned. I don't know. Is America ready for a white president? I don't know, once you go black, you know how it goes. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Oh, thank you. But it is interesting, you know, even the coming Trump presidency is even affecting the book world. I don't know if you guys knew this, but apparently bookstores have said that they're taking all copies of the Constitution and moving them from the government section to the fiction section. So, yeah. I know, it's very sad. And all copies of Trump's books are moving from the nonfiction section to the horror section. I think that's appropriate. I actually think that's appropriate. And now, there's the other thing I can't believe. Now they're also taking classic books and they have to change the titles just to make it coincide with what's going on in the country right now. This really makes me sad. Like The Great Gatsby is now going to be called The Terrific, and I mean terrific Gatsby. Too many words, right? Little Women will now be known as Little Women Who I'll Be Dating in 10 years. See, that's just, oh, look, like I said that, right? That's what he said. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is now The Hitchhiker's Guide to Canada. Oh, very nice. It's actually very helpful. Pride and Prejudice now has to be called Pride and Really Fucking Prejudice. Yeah, I censored myself a little bit. A Clockwork Orange Now, oh, actually, there's no change for a Clockwork Orange. That actually is staying the same. And finally, this one really makes me sad. My favorite, Dr. Seuss, The Cat in the Hat, now apparently has to be called Grab 'em by the Pussycat in the Hat. So those are the books. Those are the books. I didn't say that, you guys. That's actually not a bad word, though. So, all right, shall we get this evening started? Yes, let's do it. Actually, that was really a clean joke. It just sounded like a dirty joke. It really did. I wasn't going to do that joke, but Billy Bush egged me on, so yeah, I know. He just... This is going to be a fun night. I'm very excited to be here. I love books. I love the fact that we celebrate books. I've always said books may be our only evidence of a civilized society at some point, you know. And now I'm starting to believe that could be true. So thank you. Thank you, everybody who's written a book, who's edited a book, who's published a book, and who has supported books. Thank you very much. No, it means the world to me. In fact, just a real quick story. I sold books door to door one summer, and I wrote about this last year. And we'll tell you real quick. At the end of this family couldn't afford the books. They were like a poor immigrant family. At the end of the summer, I left the books there for their kids and everything. It was one of the things that really changed my life and inspired me to do a lot of things that I'm doing. So thank you, book people, is what I want to say. And now, yes, we need it. We need books, right? But now, please welcome to the stage the chairman of the National Book Foundation, David Steinberger. Go.
Good evening, and on behalf of the National Book Foundation, I'd like to welcome you to the 67th National Book Awards. It's always one of the things that makes this evening special is having so many wonderful writers in the room. We've got multiple winners of the National Book Award. We have winners of the Pulitzer Prize. We have winners of the Newbery, the Nebula, the PEN/Faulkner, the Whitbread, the Edgar, the O. Henry, the Thurber. We have writers that have been nominated and have been finalists for every possible literary award. I'd like to recognize the writers in this room. I'm going to ask you, if you are a writer, will you stand up? Please stand right now. Encourage your writers to stand and join me in acknowledging them. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I would like to thank our sponsors who make this event possible. Specifically, thank you, premier sponsors, Penguin Random House, Barnes & Noble, leadership sponsors, Lindenmeyer Book Publishing Papers, a division of Central National Scotsman, Coral Graphics, and sponsors Amazon, Google, Hachette, HarperCollins, Levenger Foundation, Alberto Vitali, and the Zelnick-Bellsberg Charitable Trust. Thank you, all of you, for your support. Special thank you to Apple and iBooks, who are hosting this year's after party. And I've been told we're going to have a giant disco ball, right? Is that where's Lisa? Yes, right? Yes, it's coming. So it's going to be right here on the balcony behind me here. You're all invited to the after party. Thank you also to our after party committee. So that's Ken Shen, Rachel Ferschleiser, Jen Dilling-Martin, Paul Morris, Steph Opitz, and Nicole Seeley. Thank you. Thank you also to our dinner committee who made this evening possible. That's Dita Blair, Lee Carpenter, Luke Janklow, Deborah Needleman, Nicholas Narcos, Tracy Sherrod, and Shelley Wanger. Thank you. Now, I'd like to thank the staff of the National Book Foundation that does such an amazing job, and especially our executive director, our new executive director, Lisa Lucas. Lisa's, you know, it's funny because everyone I run into this evening is saying to me, where did you find this person? She's unbelievable. We can't get over her. I'm just glad I'm talking before she is. So it's like people aren't going to be saying, like, who's this guy talking after Lisa? But we are thrilled with Lisa's drive, her enthusiasm, her devotion and commitment to the written word. She has made such a difference, and she is going to make a great difference. So thank you to Lisa and her team at the foundation. I want to acknowledge in the audience also our former executive director, Harold Augenbraum. Can we get a here for Harold? He's still working with us through a grant with the Mellon Foundation looking at translation. It's great to have Harold here. Where's Harold? Back here somewhere, right? And finally, I want to thank my fellow board members who are so committed to the work of the foundation. And I want to give special thanks to the members of the search committee who worked on this transition from Harold to Lisa, worked so hard on this, and did such a great job. That is Carolyn Reedy, Calvin Sims, Reynold Levy, Strauss Zelnick, and of course our vice chairman, Morgan Entrikin. Thank you to the board. Now our mission, I was asked tonight, what is the mission of the National Book Foundation? Our mission is to increase the impact of great books on the culture. It's pretty important. So I want to thank you for being here and being part of that important mission. And to all of our finalists for this year's National Book Award, congratulations on your wonderful, wonderful achievement, and good luck tonight. And now on to the award ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now to present the Literarian Award for Outstanding Service to the American Literary Community is Terrence Hayes. Yes. Now, Terrence Hayes is the author of Lighthead, winner of the 2010 National Book Award and finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. His other books are Wind in a Box, Hip Logic, and Muscular Music. His honors include a Whiting Writers Award, a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, a United States Artist Zell Fellowship, a Guggenheim Fellowship, and a MacArthur Fellowship. How to Be Drawn, his most recent collection of poems, was a finalist for the 2015 National Book Award, the 2016 National Book Critics Circle Award, and received the 2016 NAACP Image Award for Poetry. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Terrence Hayes.
All right. Often over the years, I've been asked why a group of black poets would call itself Cave Canem. It's Latin. Because blackness, like poetry, means different things, I like to say. For example, once upon a time, two black poets visiting the lost city of Pompeii entered the house of the tragic poet and saw upon entering a sign reading Cave Canem on the gate. Later, when they had the idea for a retreat for black poets, that's what they called it, Cave Canem, Latin for beware of the dog. What does it mean to be the dog guarding the house of poetry? Maybe Toy Derricott and Cornelius Eady never paused to ask such a question, or 20 years later, they are still asking the question. Because blackness, like poetry, means many things, they welcomed black poets of every shade and age, from everywhere in the middle of nowhere, spoken worders, academics, experimentalists, formalists, students and professors, ex-cons, exiles, weirdos, librarians, atheists, Yoruba priests and priestesses. I ain't bullshitting. The initial gathering of 26 poets included the 82-year-old granddaughter of a Confederate general, as well as a former disc jockey who decided to live in homeless shelters so he'd have time studying to become a poet. Now, with well over 300 fellows, Cave Canem is one of the most diverse poetry organizations in the country. In 1968, when a white policeman erroneously shot 33-year-old black poet Henry Dumas in a subway station in Harlem, no one imagined a nation of black poets could exist. It's such a futuristic idea, a world in which the descendants of slaves become poets. Elizabeth Bishop said poetry is a way of thinking with one's feelings. And Lucille Clifton, one of Cave Canem's first teachers, one of the first poets to see the value of such a place, famously wrote, "Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed." Imagine 20 years of thinking with one's feelings while something is trying to kill you. All kinds of magical things open up in such a place. It happens during the fellows reading sometimes. For fellows readings, poets age 18 to 88, like I say, all styles and dispositions, get up to the open mic to read a poem. It's amazing. The summer I taught there was this brother from Chicago, Avery, a strange, brilliant brother tuned to some supernatural frequency, a cross between Sun Ra and Donny Hathaway. So when Avery's turn to share a poem came, he started singing. Where were you when they killed that boy? Where were you when they killed that boy? I thought he was just going to sing a little bit before the poem, but he went on like that, singing the blues, an Emmett Till gospel, like 5 or 6 minutes, walking around the room like he was possessed. Would you kill the men who killed that boy, he was singing. Would you kill for that boy? Would you kill for that boy? Would you live for that boy? Would you live for that boy? Church. He was sweating and panting when he was done. And so I tried to breathe and I couldn't breathe. I started heading for the door. I left the room and I found myself kneeling, I don't know how long. I cussed him alone in the darkness outside. Motherfucker. And when I was done, I straightened my face and I was about to head back inside to the reading when I was met by a crowd of people who were weeping and hyperventilating. I thought I was the only one. He cleared the room. So maybe half an hour later, the reading continued. No one could say what had happened exactly. And even this here is just about 5% of what happened. What would happen if you brought a bunch of black poets together in a safe place? If you became the black and faithful dog guarding that place, what would happen? We know the poets affiliated with such a place would flourish because they have. But we also know many more brilliant, unaffiliated black poets remain imperiled or overlooked or just willfully writing alone. Writing is lonely all the time. No organization can change that. But Cave Canem is a kind of fortification. Even if you are not a poet or black. It is a fortification of your language, your history, your future. We have seen a black president, and we are seeing what kind of president comes after a black president. We've seen, and we still are seeing, black men and women killed by people sworn to protect them. Our lives remain in danger, which is to say, your lives remain in danger. We need arts organizations like Cave Canem, organizations that put writers in schools, homeless shelters, prisons, and myriad underserved communities. Sometimes your living room is an underserved community. Nonprofit arts organizations need your support, your loyalty, your bark, and your bike. We must be the dogs guarding the house. We are here tonight to say thank you for your work, Toy and Cornelius. Thank you. You've done a good job. You have made possible so many lives, most of which my own. Please come on up.
Wow. I am most grateful to the National Book Foundation for this validation. I accept this award in the names of our 440 fellows all over the country. Our visionary executive directors, Carolyn Micklem and Allison Myers. The innkeeper for the birth of Cave Canem, Father Francis Gargani. Our first retreat staff, Terrence Hayes and Michelle Elliott. Our first faculty, Elizabeth Alexander and Afa Weaver. Our productive and hardworking board members during the past 20 years, our current board president, Jacqueline Jones-Lamont, our office and retreat staff, and all of those who have given their knowledge, skills, money, and love. Foremost, I want to thank my beloved friends, Sarah Micklem and Cornelius Eady, my partners in crime, for the shared passion that we have been so privileged to enjoy. Each year, in the opening circle on the first night, more than 50 African American poets look across the room, some of whom have never worked with another African American poet, and see themselves reflected back, their beauty and power. There is an outpouring of tears, gratitude, and joy. All over the country, there are fellows writing poems and building communities who have gone through this transformation. In 2015, 3 Cave Canem poets won top literary awards. Robin Coss Lewis won the National Book Award for Voyage of the Sable Venus. Greg Pardlow, the Pulitzer Prize for Digest. And Ross Gay, the New York Book Critics Circle Award for Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. I believe that the Cave Canem poets will be the flesh and blood of the work that our country needs so urgently to do, especially now. This energy does not belong to us. It was passed down through the creative genius of our ancestors, which was their response to slavery and oppression. We do them honor by passing it on. Joy is an act of resistance. Thank you.
It's been a very tough week, hasn't it? And what I would like us all to leave with is this memory that this is what love can do. This is what happens when a group of people actually go forward and try to transform something, not even knowing exactly what they want to do. But this is what, hold on to this moment, I think. Because right now, as we speak, uptown, there are people in a building that are trying to write a narrative about who we are and who we're supposed to be and what to do about us. And when you lose that story, when you lose that narrative or you allow that narrative to be taken from you, bad things happen. And I think it's our job and our duty, and Kaveh Khanum's duty was to make sure that we get to write our story, that we get to say who we are, the fullness of who we are, the contradictions of who we are, in our own language, in our own way. So thank you all for honoring that. One of the great things about Kaveh Khanum is the ability to see one another in a room, and I have that feeling right now. We're all seeing each other. And thank you, National Book Foundation, for seeing what we've done. Thank you.
One more hand, everybody. Wow. Wow. Very powerful. That's what I call controlling the narrative. You know, whenever people get to control the narrative, we get to hear amazing stories, and I think it makes all of us better. And now to present the Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters is Dr. William P. Kelly. Dr. William P. Kelly is the New York Public Library's Andrew W. Mellon Director of the Research Libraries, responsible for the library's 4 research centers and their 460 staff members. Now, his responsibilities include collection strategy, acquisition and accessibility, researcher engagement, preservation, long-term and short-term fellowships, and taking a lead role in important research initiatives such as the recruitment of new curators, renovations, and preserving and expanding the use of the most democratically accessible of research collections. Kelly began his tenure at NYPL in January 2016, and previously he was interim chancellor of the City University of New York, chairman of the Research Foundation of the City University of New York, and spent 8 successful years as the president of the CUNY Graduate Center. Kelly's the current chairman of the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation. And so it gives me great pleasure to welcome Dr. William P. Kelly.
Good evening, and thank you, Larry. It's a privilege to present the National Book Foundation's Lifetime Achievement Medal for Distinguished Contribution to American Letters to Robert A. Caro. A much-deserved honor this, and a singularly appropriate one. Bob's career has been crowned with laurel. He has been widely recognized as the greatest biographer of our times, one might well argue of all time. He has been celebrated as the most consequential interpreter of the American 20th century. His magisterial accounts of the careers of Robert Moses and Lyndon Johnson have fundamentally altered our understanding of the acquisition and the deployment of power. His stature in the first rank of American journalists is beyond dispute. His passion for getting the story right and his commitment and that of his great partner, Ina Caro, to pursue every lead, every source, every archival trace is the stuff of legend. His many honors and awards, including 2 Pulitzers, a National Book Award, 2 National Book Critics Circle Award, the Gold Medal from the American Academy, the Parkman Prize, the National Humanities Medal, bear witness to that pursuit, so too his impact on a generation of journalists who have profited from his example. The medal we present tonight acknowledges Bob's accomplishments as biographer, historian, and journalist, but it celebrates something larger, more capacious, subsuming. It honors Bob's contribution to American letters. As such, it recognizes in this company of writers the power of the word and of Bob's genius for wielding that authority in our common interest. At the heart of Bob's achievement is language itself, its capacity to make us present, to feel, to engage with actors across time and space, and to change the way we see and to inform the way we live. That power resides in words, in sentences, in the alignment of paragraphs, and in the arrangement of pages. If Bob's accuracy is a function of his attention to detail, his narrative powers derive from getting the language right, every clause, every preposition, every semicolon. Bob's work has been described as Shakespearean, most often in reference to the history plays. And yes, his mastery of character and of narrative design, his rendering of ambition and its discontents, call to mind Hotspur, Richard, Henry IV, Henry V. But it is on the level of language that Bob's bardic affinities are most apparent. Rhythm, balance, the poise of his sentences undergird and drive the stories he tells. That is the source of their power, the propulsion that drives Bob's chapters and books forward, the pulse that keeps us turning pages through the night. Bob's sentences and the books they constitute have made us conscious of the ubiquity of power, of its presence in the most intimate aspects of our lives, of its capacity for great good and even greater evil, of the need to recognize its often invisible exercise, and the imperative to resist its abuse. That is a gift of a rare order, never more critical than in these days. Please join me in saluting the master of American letters, Robert A. Caro.
Well, Bill, that was such a wonderful introduction that I'm reminded of what Lyndon Johnson used to say when he got an especially wonderful introduction. He would say that he wished his parents were alive to hear it because his father would have loved it and his mother would have believed it. I've discovered in the last couple of weeks, since I was told I had gotten this Lifetime Award, that there's one particularly nice aspect of getting a Lifetime Award. It makes you think back over your lifetime. And doing that has made me remember some wonderful things that I had forgotten for a long time. Of course, when you start remembering, you remember some tough times too. I remember Robert Moses, who was then at the height of his power, saying, "I will never talk to you, my family will never talk to you, my friends will never talk to you." And then he had another sentence, I can't remember the exact words, but the import was, "Nobody who ever wants a contract from the city or state will ever talk to." And I remember thinking, what do I do now? I remember running out of money. My contract for the power broker was $5,000, of which I had gotten $2,500 in advance. Ina and I used to joke that we were doing the book for the world's smallest advance. But for those of you who are writers here in the room, that stopped being funny very quickly. And I remember 7 years of listening to people say, no one will ever read a book about Robert Moses. But looking back on it, if you say that life is in a way a journey, it's been a great journey. I've always loved finding things out and trying to explain them. And that's what happened with these books. With Robert Moses, I had been a young journalist who got interested in political power. I had won some minor journalistic awards, believe me, really minor. But when you're young and you win any kind of an award, you think you know everything. But when Robert Moses finally, after several years, agreed to talk to me, and he started talking, I realized in the first moments that he was talking that I knew nothing about political power, that this man was operating and thinking on a level far beyond anything, far above anything I had ever thought. And I had to try to understand it. Time and again, as he would say something, I remember thinking, wow, I never thought about that. It was great for me getting those lessons into what political power, not the kind we learn about in textbooks, but real political power, the raw, naked essence of power, really consists of. Then there was learning the Texas Hill Country, that remote, impoverished, isolated area where Lyndon Johnson grew up. I was interviewing people who had grown up with Johnson there, and I realized that I wasn't really understanding them, and therefore I really wasn't understanding Lyndon Johnson. So Ina and I moved there for the better part of 3 years to learn this whole new world, which was so different from the world of New York in which I had grown up. I was about 39 then when I started. Let me tell you that living in and learning, having to learn a whole new world when you're that age, that was a great gift to me. But of course, if life is in a way a journey, the most important thing about a journey is your companions. Getting this award made me think of the people who have been my companions, and that has been the most wonderful thing of all. In 1972, in my 5th year after starting the Power Broker, I finally got an agent, Lynn Nesbitt, and I got a new editor. Bob Gottlieb, at Alfred Knopf. And I also got another editor at Knopf, Kathy Horrigan, who has worked with Bob Gottlieb on all my books. Bob has been my editor, Lynn has been my agent, and Kathy has worked on my books ever since 1972. To save you the trouble of calculating, that's 44 years ago. So for all that time, 44 years, I have had the same editors and the same agent. Together we have worked on 5 books. Whatever lifetime achievement I have, Bob and Lynn and Kathy are part of it. Those 3 people were with me 44 years ago, and they're with me today. That fact alone makes looking back on my life terrific. Another person has been a big part of my life, Sonny Mehta. Sonny came to Knopf in 1987. So Sonny is a relative newcomer in my life. 29 years is barely more than a quarter of a century, hardly worth mentioning. It has meant a lot to me to have Sonny with me. Whenever I have a manuscript, I go in to see him. And in complimenting the manuscript, he always says, picks out the very things that I most wanted readers to get out of the book. He has a gift, and it's quite a rare gift in my experience, for seeing, for grasping, and being able to explain the very heart of a book. Another thing about Sonny, not once in 29 years has he asked me, or had anyone else ask me, when am I going to be finished with my book? I have literally never once in 44 years heard that question at Knopf. Never once as I have proposed expanding the number of volumes in the years of Lyndon Johnson from 3 to 4 and now to 5, has he had any words for me except words of encouragement. Thanks, Sonny. There is another person at Knopf whom I especially want to thank, Andy Hughes. Andy is the person most responsible for the fact that my books, long though they are always beautiful books. In addition, my insistence on rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, rewriting with my books in galleys and even in page proofs, rewriting even in the very last stage of page proofs, causes a lot of problems. Somehow Andy always solves them. Thanks for that, Andy. Since I have been at the same publishing house for 44 years, I have other people at Knopf to thank. Tony Chirico, whose support of the Long Johnson project has been unstinting. Paul Bogards, who in moments of crisis, and we've had a lot of moments of crisis, has always been there for me. Anne Massetti, Nicholas Latimer, Russell Perot. As I walk around the halls of my publishing house, they seem to me to be filled not only with friends, but with the friends of decades. And of course, there is the companion of my whole life, the most important companion in everything. When I learned that I was getting this award and started thinking back over my life, naturally the first person I thought of was Ina. I remembered her selling the house. I didn't really care much about the house, but Ina loved that house. But we were really had no place else to turn for money. And I came home one day and she came up to me, and before I got out of the car, she said, "We sold the house today." I remembered how she never let me know all the indignities of being broke. It was only after the New Yorker bought the power broker that she said, "Now I can walk past the butcher's again." I had never even known that we were unable to pay bills there, so that she had to choose a different shopping area. I remember when I told her that I wasn't understanding the hill country and we would have to move there, maybe for 2 or 3 years. She said, "Why can't you write a biography of Napoleon?" But of course, then she said what she always says, "Sure." And of course, Ina has been so much more than that. I read sometimes about historians who have teams of 3 or perhaps 4 researchers. I have a team of researchers too, and it's Ina. She is the whole team, the only person I have ever trusted to do research on my books. Ina has, of course, written 2 wonderful books of her own, but somehow, despite that, she has always found time for mine. Thanks, Ina. So when I was... So when I was told some weeks ago that I would be getting this award, I started remembering all this. So it is with a very full heart that I thank the National Book Foundation, the It's director Linda Lucas who wrote me that wonderful letter to tell me I had won, and all the other people at the foundation. This award has made me remember a life, and that's been a great gift to me. Thank you all.
Very nice. Now that's how you do an acceptance speech. I'd love to see that in the Oscars, Bob. We need you in the Oscars, man. He's like, no, I am not finished. That was so great, so heartfelt. Boy, I'm so inspired. I want to go out and read all these books. That sounds fascinating, all that, everything he was talking about. Everything. I want to meet all the people he talked about and everything about Robert Moses, too. But look, we're going to have a short dinner break, and then we're going to come back after the dinner break, and we're going to continue the awards. I hear they're serving some very delicious steak, so enjoy that. Word of caution, though, if you eat a piece of meat and something happens, you don't feel good, and everything you say starts not making sense, nobody can understand you, you probably got a Trump steak, so be very careful. I had to stick another one in there. Come on, guys. All right, enjoy your dinner. We'll see you right after. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats for this year's National Book Awards ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, the Executive Director of the National Book Foundation, Lisa Lucas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope dinner was lovely. And now for the good part, right? Get to find out what you've been wondering. Who's going to win the National Book Award for 2016? Our fabulous host, Larry Wilmore, earlier said that it's a tough time. And we've all been dealing with the political situation in this country. But then Toy Derricote also said that joy is an act of resistance. And so I'd say that putting on our dresses and our tuxedos and being together and celebrating literature is in fact an act of resistance. A reminder that we can repair our country and our world, and we can be together, and we can still feel joy and happiness. So, I'm brand new. This is my first year as Executive Director of the National Book Foundation. And I'm super nervous. This is my first time on this stage. I'm unlikely to write a novel or a biography. And so it might not be ever for any other reason other than to welcome you guys all here. But looking out at all of you bright lights in this room reminds me that this role is a profound honor, a tremendous responsibility, and truly a dream come true. It's my dream job. I'm a reader, a capital R reader, and the practice of reading books, talking about books, learning from them, loving them, has brought more joy and more empathy and more magic into my life than I can ever really, truly express. And I believe really deeply, really, truly deeply that this work matters. I am a Black woman, obviously, but I am the first woman and the first person of color to serve in this role. And that's a source of pride for me. It's also a source of inspiration. And I'm reminded every day that as a Black woman, it's my job to keep making sure that there are more seats at an ever-expanding table. One that includes anyone with the capacity for wonder, with curiosity, and with passion, which is to say, everyone, no matter what they look like or where they come from or who they love. Being up here in general is a really emotional moment for me, and especially so in this time where many of us in this room and in this nation find ourselves disoriented, disconnected, and unclear about what's to come. So tonight, at the 67th National Book Awards, let us remember that books give us hope, that they give us comfort, that they light our way, that they instruct us, and that they bring us together. That the simple act of reading creates community where each and every one of us will always be welcome. And together, we can work to make that community of readers bigger and stronger and more powerful. And so my hope, my deepest hope, is that every single person in this room will join the foundation in making a commitment to doing so tonight. So before I continue to go on and blow way past my time limit, which I have so gently told everybody not to, I'd like to give some thanks, and I have a lot of thanks to give. So first of all, thank you so much to our wonderful host, Larry Wilmore. It is a pleasure and a privilege to have you here. You're super funny. Thank you, as David said earlier, to our generous sponsors. Without you, we would literally not be here. Thank you to Apple and to iBooks for hosting tonight's party. Stick around, there's gonna be a really big disco ball, which looks pretty much like my dress. And we're grateful to each and every one of our partners who help us to run our programs, because we are more than just an award. We work year-round to bring readers into the fold, and we're grateful to everybody who helps us to do that through our Book Up program, through our program Eat, Drink, and Be Literary at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, through our MBA on Campus program, which brings finalists and winners to campuses around the country, to 5 Under 35. Some of our authors are here. And I'd also like to thank, first off for my job, but in general for being incredible, the National Book Foundation's Board of Directors. The Board of Directors of the National Book Foundation terrified me when I first met them all. I didn't think I would make it through my first meeting. But despite how intimidating they might seem on paper, in real life they are warm and loving and passionate and smart, and they care so much about this work. It is an absolute joy to have such backing and to have so much warmth and care dumped into this organization that we work to keep alive every single day. And in particular, I'd like to call out David Steinberger, who has been a mentor, who has tolerated my phone calls every single Tuesday morning for the past 9 months, and who cares so much, but not only cares, but also believes that we can do more, be more, and grow to be an organization that has a profound impact on the way that we read in America. I'd also like to thank my predecessor, Harold Augenbraum. I promised him that I'd embarrass him with my love from the stage. A baton has never been passed so warmly. He has taken every single phone call, every single panic attack. He has built this organization. He has made this work possible. Most of the things that you're seeing tonight are things that Harold thought of. There are to-do lists on a 278 National Book Award task list. And he's just an amazing man. He's working at the foundation again on his translation project with the Mellon Foundation. And man, I'll never forget Harold so long as I live on this earth, because the gift that he's given me, this beautiful transition into an organization that has the opportunity to flourish, has been tremendous. So thank you, Harold. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. Next up is the staff at the National Book Foundation. They are our everything. So shout out to Courtney Gillette, to Ben Samuel, to Laura Donovan, to Meredith Andrews, to Sherry Young, to Jordan Smith, and to Jonathan Walsh. We are small but mighty, and I'm proud of you all. And now for our judges, who read a combined total of 1,464 books to identify the 20 finalist titles and the 22 finalists that you will see tonight. Thank you for enduring and for building strong relationships with your UPS person. So where would we be tonight without all of the remarkable and talented writers in this room? Our finalists, thank you for your work and your spirit and your vision. It helps us to better understand who we are, where we come from, and where we might hope to go. You help us to dream and to understand. I used a quote when I interviewed for this job, and it feels really relevant. It feels really inspiring now to me in this moment. And so Ralph Ellison, a 1953 National Book Award winner, once said, "Literature is integrated." And I'm not just talking about color or race. I'm talking about the power of literature to make us recognize, and again, the wholeness of the human experience. And so why are we here tonight? Why did we bother when this world is such a disaster? to get this gussied up in our gowns and our tuxedos, and I see you if you didn't wear one. What are we to do? Aren't there more important matters to attend to? But no, it's about trying to seek out what the wholeness of the human experience is. Our mission at the National Book Foundation is to celebrate the best of American literature and to expand its audience and to enhance the cultural value of great writing in America. We need books right now more than we ever have. We need our writers more than we ever have. We need thoughtful critique. We need stories and poems and novels and graphic memoirs and essays and thoughtful prose, and we need them to inspire us and to recognize us and to affirm our place in the world. We need literary activists of all kinds who are going to help every kind of reader find and share in the beauty and power of books. But more than anything, we need to reach readers, new readers, and the already initiated, young and adult, immigrant and citizen of every religion, race, and politics. Because I believe now more than ever we need to come together, we need to understand who we can be, how much there is to achieve yet, and how far that we can go. And there is no better way to start the conversations that we need to have than by reading and connecting through the books that we are celebrating here tonight. The 20 books that we are celebrating here tonight start us. And so I hope that you will join me, not just tonight, but throughout the year in this mission to change the world, one book at a time. I ask you to believe in us, to believe in this foundation, to believe in these books, and to support us, and to help us turn that belief into action. May the bright spirit of tonight's celebration shine through the days and the weeks and the years to come. May this literature last forever. We have so much to celebrate and so much to read. And so let's take comfort tonight in each other, and then let's get this party started. And then tomorrow, let's get to work.
One more time for Lisa Lucas, you guys. Oh my God. Man. I don't know about you guys, that woman is my spirit animal. She keeps it 100, man. You know what, I have to acknowledge you, Lisa. She's thanked me like 3 or 4 times for this. I thank you. I thank you for doing this and for inviting me here. I'm honored to be here, you guys. Books, really, it's true. I'm honored to be here. Let me tell you something. I always joke about, you know, I also act and I write and direct, produce. I do a lot of different things, but I put things into categories. Like I always said, actors are the babies and directors are like the prima donnas. And I've always said writers are the smartest people in the room, you know, especially in television. Trust me in that. Even if it doesn't seem like it on screen, trust me. But I also believe that great writing does not just require smart or intelligence. It requires you to be an athlete of the heart. And we need our athletes now more than ever, and we need to raise the game now more than ever. And I just want to acknowledge all of the athletes in this room and the job that you're doing, so thank you. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, now, and of course all of this starts with young people and getting young people involved in reading. And to present the National Book Award in Young People's Literature is Katherine Patterson. Yes. Katherine Patterson is the author of more than 30 books, including 16 novels for children and young people, and she has twice won the Newbery Medal for Bridge to Terabithia in 1978. Yep. And Jacob Have I Loved in 1981. Very good. The Master Puppeteer won the National Book Award in 1977, and the great Gilly Hopkins won the National Book Award in 1979 and was a Newbery Honor Book. For her body of work, she received the Hans Christian Andersen Award in 1998 and the Astrid Lindgren Memorial Award in 2006. And in 2000, was named a living legend by the Library of Congress. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Katherine Patterson.
Thank you. One feels like one should say Larry, but I don't know. And thank you, Lisa, and your wonderful staff for this great celebration. It's my privilege to present our panel.
It's at a brother's height right now. There you go, yeah.
It's my privilege, thank you, Larry. It's my privilege to present our panel of judges for young people's literature. Will Alexander, Valerie Lewis, Ellen O, and Laura Euban. No chair could have asked for a more wise, hardworking, and at the same time congenial crew, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. The good news was that this was a good year for young people's books. The bad news was that this was a good year for young people's books. Our choices were painful ones. Far too many truly deserving books had to be left behind as we came together for a long list, and then to the final list that we are honoring tonight. Our deliberations considered 4 distinct categories of excellence. How does the book appeal to the head in the intelligence and craft of its construction? How does it appeal to the heart in the richness and honesty of its emotional evocation? How does it appeal to the ear in the quality of its voice? And finally, how does it contribute to the vast conversation that is literature written for children and young adults? In other words, is this a book not only for our time, but a book that will stand the test of the years? We believe that we have chosen those books. And now, it is with admiration for the strength, the beauty, and the timely and timeless truth of their accomplishments that we applaud their creators. Kate DiCamillo for Ramey Nightingale, Candlewick Press. John Lewis, Andrew Eden, Nate Powell for March Book 3. Top Shelf Productions, IDW Publishing. Grace Lynn for When the Sea Turned to Silver. Little Brown Books for Young Readers, Hachette Book Group. Jason Reynolds for Ghost. Athenaeum Books for Young Readers, Simon & Schuster. Nicola Yoon, The Sun is Also a Star. Delacorte Press, Penguin Random House, and the 2016 National Book Award for Young People's Literature goes to John Lewis, Angela Iden, Nate Powell, March 3.
Thank you. Thank you. This is unreal. This is unbelievable. Some of you know I grew up in rural Alabama, very, very poor. Very few books in our home. And I remember in 1956, when I was 16 years old, with some of my brothers and sisters and cousins, going down to the public library, trying to get library cards. And we were told that the library was for whites only and not for colors. And to come here and receive this award, this honor with this, it's too much. Thank you. But I had a wonderful teacher in elementary school who told me, read, my child, read. And I tried to read everything. I love books. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Nate. And thank each and every one of you. And thank all of the judges. Thank you, National Book Foundation. Thank you so much.
This was an incredibly intense group effort. I couldn't have done it without, we couldn't have done this alone. Thank you to all of us as friends, as collaborators. Thank you, Lee Walton, the engine that drove March. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris Ross. Happy birthday, Chris. Thank you, everybody at IDW. My amazing wife, whose sacrifices made my end of the deal attainable. My children and their generation who will inherit this earth. And a message to a challenge to our incoming president. I challenge you to take this trilogy into your tiny hands and allow your tiny heart to be transformed by it. None of us are alone in this, not even you.
I pitched this idea to the congressman when I was 24 years old. I didn't know any better. When I was a kid, we didn't have money for books, so we would go to the library. It also happened to be the only place that had air conditioning and that we could use in Georgia. I was raised by a single mom, and she couldn't be here tonight, but she made me promise I would sit here and watch this with her at Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Mama. We did it. I want to thank Chris Staros for saying yes when I pitched him over the table at a comic book convention. I want to thank all the publishers who said no. I want to thank John Lewis for saying yes. There are two important lessons from this. One is that the story of the movement must be told. It must be told to every child, young and old. We all must know it if we are to understand the politics of today. And two, let the prejudice against comic books be buried once and for all. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to Lee Walton. Let me just say, Leah, his wife, you can have him back now. And let me thank one more time my mom, because there was no math that would say I should be here. There's no math that would say I should have this award. There's no math that says I should work with John Lewis, that I should be able to serve in Congress, that you could be able to grow up the son of a Muslim immigrant you did not know whose name you carry, despite that. Mama, you persevered. You got me through it. And by God, we made the best of it. Thank you.
Wow. John Lewis, everybody. Wow. Wow. So weird. I mean, to me, it makes sense. It makes sense that he's in comic book form because he's like a real superhero, right? And little did his arch enemies know that racism just made him stronger. Only made him stronger. That is a national hero. Thank you, John. Now, to present the National Book Award for Poetry is Joy Harjo. Yes. Joy Harjo is an acclaimed poet, musician, writer, and performer, and her books of award-winning poetry include her newest, Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings, and her memoir, Crazy Brave, won the PEN USA Literary Award for Creative Nonfiction. She's the recipient of the Wallace Stevens Award from the Academy of American Poets and a Guggenheim Fellowship. And she is at work on a musical, an album of music, and a second memoir. A second memoir, that's amazing. She holds a chair of excellence in creative writing at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Joy Harjo.
What a celebration. Joy is here. First, I wish to introduce the circle of judges for this year's National Book Award in Poetry. An incredible group of judges, and they include Mark Bibbins, Jericho Brown, Katie Ford, and Tree Swenson. We makers of stories, poems, and readers of literature all need each other as we navigate the broken heart of this country. Poetry is truth-telling, the concise art of conscience, and the word magic of history and prophecy. We absolutely need poetry as we move forward from last Tuesday. Poetry carries the spirit of the people and is necessary at the doorways of transition and transformation. This award acknowledges the accomplishments of American poets who sing and speak us through to the other side. For 6 months, we have read, reread, discussed books, poems, words, and what matters and what continues to matter in the making of poetry. We have read nearly 300 books of poetry together. We found incredible poetry and these incredible deserving finalists. The 5 finalists for the National Book Awards in Poetry are Borzutsky, The Performance of Being Human, Brooklyn Arts Press, Dove, Rita Dove for Collected Poems, 1974 to 2004, W.W. Norton. Peter Gizzi for Archaeophonics, Wesleyan University Press. Jay Hopler, The Abridged History of Rainfall, McSweeney's. Somaj Sharif, Look, Grey Wolf Press.
This year's National Book Award goes to Daniel Brzezinski for the performance of Being Human.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, judges. Thank you, National Book Foundation. What an honor to share this stage with John Lewis as well. I need to give my first thank you to my parents who are here tonight. Who always filled our house with books and who never questioned my choice to be a writer, as impractical and as impoverished as it might end up being. I want as well, my 9-year-old Lorenzo's at home watching. I think he was more nervous than I was about 15 minutes ago. So Lorenzo, I love you, and I wouldn't have made this book without you. When I walked in this evening, the very nice person who greeted me at the door, I introduced myself, and they said, "Oh, yours is the book that was published in an apartment." And this was said with great enthusiasm. And that apartment belonged to Joe and Wendy Pan of Brooklyn Arts Press. Who have been the most incredible publishers. Joe has done so much for this book, and once he found out that it was nominated for the National Book Award, has been so incredibly supportive. Need to thank Brock Russell of Brooklyn Arts Press, who edited the book, Linda Silva Johnson, who worked on design, as well as Sam Hall and all the team at Brooklyn Arts Press, who I am missing. My formation as a writer has very much been among people who make books in their apartments, many of whom have been publishing me for years, and it has been one gift after another. So I want to acknowledge those people who labor in the small press world, which is where I have very much come from. So others who have published my work, both as a writer and in translation, I want to acknowledge and thank Stephen Motika from Nightboat Books, Joelle McSweeney and Johannes Göransson from Action Books, Patrick Durgan from Kenning Editions, Shauna Compton from Bloof Books, my friends in Chicago, Devin King and Caroline Picard from the Green Lantern Press, and many, many others who I am not going to mention, but who have made the literary world so much better. Finally, the performance of Becoming Human comes out of the idea that literature and poetry in particular can serve as a means of producing social and historical memory. And at this moment, as many people in this room are very concerned about what the future is going to bring, I too am incredibly concerned about that. The performance of Becoming Human comes out of the experience of thinking about many types of abuse, both state violence, economic exploitation, the experience of migrants and exiles and immigrants, and I'm particularly concerned about the fate of undocumented people in this country. So I want to ask. So I would simply conclude by asking that we all do our part to make sure that this country remains safe and welcoming to undocumented people, immigrants, and speakers of many languages. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're about halfway through the night. Just a little joke, just a little joke. People are like, wait, what? The National Book Award for Nonfiction will be presented by Masha Gessen. There we go. Masha Gessen is a Russian-American journalist and the author of 9 books of nonfiction, including The Brothers, The Road to American Tragedy, and the national bestseller, The Man Without a Face, The Unlikely Rise of Vladimir Putin. She is a contributing opinion writer to the New York Times and a frequent contributor to the New York Review of Books and the New Yorker. She's a Carnegie Millennial Fellow. Is it Millennial? Okay. Or is it is just a typo? It's Carnegie Mellon Fellow, right? Okay. Well, this would be weird, a Millennial Fellow, right? Yeah. She's actually only 9 years old. It's kind of weird, yeah. She's done a lot. A longtime resident of Moscow. Maybe that's just how they do it in Russia. That's how good the vodka is there. Right? A longtime resident of Moscow. She now lives in New York. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Masha Gessen.
Yes, it is millennial, and the vodka was very helpful in making this decision. You already know that it was a lot of books. You already know that the choice was excruciatingly hard. It was such a lot of books, but it was also such a lot of great and important books. I was very impressed with how many books on history we had to read this year, how many striking memoirs we read. And I realized at one point that I was thinking, if my 15-year-old daughter, who's actually here today because she had the job of alphabetizing all the books and sorting them and resorting them, if she had read nothing but the books that were nominated by publishers for the Nonfiction Award this year, she'd be a really well-educated person. But I want to thank the judges, whom I will miss greatly. Our conversations and their company. The judges were Cynthia Barnett, Greg Grandin, and Ronald Rosbottom. And thank you, yes. When we produced our long list and then our short list, it seemed to us like maybe it was a very heavy list. I mean, it was physically very heavy. It was, if you saw the stacks in different nominations, ours was definitely the highest stack. It was a very heavy lift. And it's a great list. And somehow, over the last week, it's a list that's begun to feel ever more timely and ever more urgent. And urgency was one of the criteria that emerged in our conversations. Not just urgency in the subject matter, but an urgency with which we want to ask people to read these books because they will change or affect the way that you see this country and the way that you think about some of the most important issues today. So the finalists are Arlie Russell Hochschild for Strangers in Their Own Land from the New Press. Ibram X. Kendi for Stamped from the Beginning from Nation Books. Viet Thanh Nguyen for Nothing Ever Dies from Harvard University Press. Andres Resendes for The Other Slavery from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. And Heather Ann Thompson for Blood in the Water from Pantheon. And it is a great honor to give this award to Ibram X. Kendi for Nothing Ever Dies.
So I have some prepared remarks, but I don't know how I'm going to open these up with this in my hand, but give me a second. Of course, I'd like to thank the judges. I'd like to thank the National Book Foundation. I would like to thank all of the co-finalists. I would like to thank my family who's here, my mother, Carol Rogers, and my father, Larry Rogers, who, from the moment I could see, were reading books. I'd like to thank my brother, Akil Rogers, who really, for me, represents the beauty of humanity. Also here is my father-in-law, B.T. Edmonds. I'd like to thank him. Actually, this book sort of came out of a conversation that we had. I, of course, would like to thank my wife, Sadiqa Kendi, who spent many days listening to early drafts and would always encourage me and has really encouraged me to this point. And it's just been my biggest advocate. I'm truly thankful to be her partner in life. I, of course, would like to thank Nation Books. Of course, we're challenging power, one book at a time. I'd like to thank my editor, Katie, who, of course, we've spent many hours talking, and you know, she, of course, believed in my work. I'd like to thank Clive Priddle, of course, for, from the beginning, believing in me that I could produce this history of racist ideas. I'd like to thank my agent, Aisha Pandey, who I think when Aisha and I first met, I think I was 29, 30 years old, and you know, she believed that I could produce this 29-year-old. I, of course, would like to thank the newest addition to my family. Some of you have seen her tonight. It's my 6-month-old daughter. And she truly is the best award that I've received all year. No offense to the National Book Foundation. And her name, we named her Imani. And Imani in Swahili means faith. Faith. Her name, of course, has a new meaning for us as the first Black president is set to leave the White House, and as a man who was emphatically endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan is about to enter. Faith. I just want to let everyone know that I spent years looking at the absolute worst of America, its horrific history of racism. But in the end, I never lost faith. The terror of racism, I never lost faith that the terror of racism would one day end. I never lost faith that because for every racist idea, there was an anti-racist idea. For every killer of the mind, there was a lifesaver of the mind. And in the midst of the human ugliness of racism, there was the human beauty. There is the human beauty in the resistance to racism. That is why I have faith. And I'll never lose my faith that you and I can create an anti-racist America where racial disparities are non-existent, where Americans are no longer manipulated by racist ideas, where Black lives matter. And so I want to thank Imani Faith for that. I want to thank all of those in history, all those people across the nation who are learning to be anti-racist, who have dedicated their lives to anti-racist work. You are my rock of faith. You are the nation's rock of faith, and I dedicate my award to all of you. Thank you.
Let me tell you something. National Book Foundation is woke. Oh, man. It is woke. Oh, that was very nice. Shout out to the baby and the wife. Black lives matter, you guys. You got to do that. Absolutely matters. You can find out the hard way. Or the easy way. All right, to present the National Book Award for Fiction is James English. There you go. James English is the John Welsh Centennial Professor of English at the University of Pennsylvania, where he directs the Penn Humanities Forum and the Price Lab for Digital Humanities. His books include The Global Future of English Studies and the Economy of Prestige, Prizes, Awards, and the Circulation of Cultural Value, selected as the best academic book of 2005 by New York Magazine. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you James English.
Hi, everyone. Wow, what a celebration. What a celebration of the written word. I'm starting to feel good for the first time in 8 days. My thanks to Lisa and to Harold and the National Book Foundation for giving me the opportunity to work with a group of very distinguished writers who are also strong and thoughtful readers of fiction. My fellow judges, Karen Joy Fowler and Geronimo Johnson, are back there at table 60. Two other judges could not be with us. Julie Otsuka threw her back out this morning, and Jesmyn Ward is home with a really new baby, just a couple weeks old. So it's a real honor to work with these great writers, and fun too. Judging the National Book Award requires, as you know, a commitment of hundreds of hours. As an educator, I've got a day job. So I did what my students call double counting, arranging things so that the work that is demanded in one domain fulfills something required in another. I'm teaching a course, it's called Novel of the Year, that focuses rather narrowly on the 2016 National Book Award for Fiction. The students in this class have read all the shortlisted books. They've studied their authors, they've studied their agents, their editors, their publishing houses, all you all. They're really learning about the ways that you work to support literary fiction in difficult times. And it's been a really fun class. Students have formed juries and decided their own winners. They've attempted to predict the outcome here tonight. They've even applied a computer program, a model to try to predict the winner algorithmically. This model was developed in Canada. It apparently works for Canadian prizes. Here, not so much. There has, on the whole, been more strenuous disagreement in the classroom than among the official judges. Karen, Geronimo, Julie, Jesmyn, and I have in fact found ourselves in strikingly close accord throughout the process. We gradually whittled down to 400 books to arrive at a place of no compromise, where every one of us 5 judges loves every one of the 5 finalists. They are Chris Batchelder's The Throwback Special, W.W. Norton and Company, Paulette Giles, News of the World, William Morrow, Karan Mahajan's The Association of Small Bonds, Viking, Colson Whitehead, The Underground Railroad, Doubleday, and Jacqueline Woodson, Another Brooklyn, Amistad. Differing greatly from one another in genre, in manner and matter and effect, each of these is, in its chosen mode, a great read and a consummate work of narrative art. Taken together, they attest to both the range and the vitality of contemporary American fiction. The other judges and I remained in accord even when, earlier today, using Skype with Julie and Jesmond, we made the difficult selection from these 5 extraordinary books. A work that impressed us with its complex and bracing ethics, its formal inventiveness, its use of fiction to illuminate the nation's troubled history for the sake of its troubled present. Our novel of the year, winner of the 2016 National Book Award for Fiction, is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead.
I guess I'll say, I'll buy that for $1. That's not that. This is my wallet, sorry. I was very superstitious. Yeah, I guess the last 4 months since the book came out have been like so incredible. Just like today, I was like, is this like the Make-A-Wish Foundation? Am I dying or something? Everyone's being really nice to me. I don't really get it. So it's so confusing. I guess my model for acceptance speeches is the Oscars. The first one I saw was like 77, where Star Wars was put against Annie Hall. And then Annie Hall won. I was really crushed. And I never thought that I would become a writer and actually be at one of these things, so it's all really neat. I've been at Doubleday for 18 years. I was gonna say, like, who gets to stay at the same publishing house for 18 years? And then Robert Caro was like, pulls this whole thing. Well done, sir. But my first book was The Intuitionist, and they always had like the weird job of translating my sensibility to readers and booksellers and critics, and so I'd like to thank Allison Rich, Michael Goldsmith, Todd Dowdy, Suzanne Mayers, Lauren Hess for translating my weirdness to like the larger world. I wrote a book 20 years ago, everyone hated it, and then I had an agent and she dumped me, and then I talked to Tina Pullman, who's an editor who ended up buying The Intuitionist, and she was like, well, you should talk to Nicola Raji. So we're a young agent. She just did the book Drown last year by Junot Diaz. You may have heard of it, and I'd reached Donnicott, and so even though I was writing a book about elevator inspectors, I was like, I'll send it to her. And then she picked me up out of the garbage and made me human halfway. Thank you, Nicole Araji. Tina Pullman edited The Intuitionist in John Henry Days, and then I started working with Bill Thomas. And you know, over the years, I have these ideas for books, and I'm like, Bill, I'm not sure if it's like a zombie book. It's like sort of Black Hawk Down meets Night of the Living Dead. And he's like, just write it, and we'll do it. And that's always been the case. No matter what kooky idea he comes up with, he's just like, we're gonna get it out there and publish it incredibly, no matter what it is. And I just remember handing the book to him, 100 pages of this book last summer, and he was like, very excited. And I was just like, I don't want to fuck up the next 200 pages. Like, just don't fuck it up, Colson. I don't want to let Bill down. So thank you for all your faith over the years. It's meant a lot. You know, to write, put yourself out there and have someone in your corner like Bill, it's a really rare thing. So thank you, sir. My daughter Maddie is at home watching on stream, I think, if she can go to bed. Maddie, you're 12 years old. I really started living the day you were born. Thanks so much for your ongoing gift to my life. Beckett is 3. I don't know who you are yet. I'm really excited to find out. But it's so much fun watching the Aquanauts with you, and you have all these ideas about things. I'm excited to see how they develop. And then my book is dedicated to my wife, Julie. It's okay writing good books when you're unhappy. It's better writing better books when you're happy. So thank you, love. And so again, yeah, the last 4 months have been crazy. Lee Haber from O Magazine and Oprah Winfrey of Oprah Winfrey Frame got the word out, and usually people read my flap copy and are like, I don't know, and then Oprah is like, read it, and then people do, and it's all crazy. So this time last year, I was like finishing up the book, and it's like, don't mess up the 20 pages, Colson. Every day I'm like, only 19 pages ago, don't mess it up, Colson. And you never know what's going to happen in a year. And now the book is out, and I would never think I'd be standing here. And who knows where we're going to be a year from now. We're sort of happy in here. Outside is the blasted hellhole wasteland of Trump land, which we're going to inhabit. But who knows what's going to happen a year from now. And because I'm still promoting the book, people have been like, you have any words about the election? I'm like, not really. I'm sort of stunned. And then I hit upon something that was making me feel better. And I guess it was, I think, hopefully applicable to other folks. You know, be kind to everybody, make art, and fight the power. That seemed like a good formula for me anyway. So BMF, and if you have trouble remembering that, a good mnemonic device to tell yourself is, they can't break me because I'm a bad motherfucker. Thank you.
Wow. Very nice. Yes. Well done. All right. What a night. Well, thank you, guys. This concludes BET Presents the National Book Awards with special guest Robert Caro. I just want to say, how much I enjoyed Robert Caro. He was fantastic. But thank you so much for coming. Special thanks to Lisa Lucas and the foundation, all the work you guys are doing. Keep reading, keep writing, and in the words of Kendrick Lamar, we gonna be all right. Okay, thank you very much.
Please, man, pretty please with a cherry on top. The weather cold, the weather so chill, chilly, really penguin feathered road. Cause I'm sipping pro, yeah, that meth is pro. Promethazine, yeah, stepping stone. Oh, they acting up, get your weapons wrong. They only killing time, another second.